Calvin's Institutes, chapter 11, entitled The Impiety of Attributing a Visible Form to God, the Setting Up of Idols, a Defection from the True God. We'll look at sections 1 through 4 in this video. So, Calvin, having set up his clear argument that the majesty and glory of God is revealed, it's on display for us in both the created order and in a special way in the revelation of his word given by the Spirit's inspiration. And yet, what is the nature of man? He would rather cling to his own speculation, no matter how irrational it is, as opposed to come to the living God. He quotes from Exodus chapter 20, "Thou shalt make no gods unto thee in any graven image or any likeness of anything that is in heaven above, or in the earth beneath, or in the waters under the earth." Any form, any representation, any likeness, which would include pictures that might be utilized today, it's all off limits because it corrupts the naturally revealed and the specially revealed glory and majesty of God and is therefore a lie. We can simplify it, like I think J.I. Packer does in his book Knowing God. He essentially recast what Calvin says in this chapter on knowing God against idols. It's a very simple rule. Any picture, any image, any representation, it is all off limits because God has said in his word, it is all off limits. He quotes in this next section from Acts 17, Paul at the Areopagus, "For as much then as we are offspring of God, we ought not to think that the Godhead is like unto gold or silver or stone, graven by art and man's desires." It was a common defense in the Greco-Roman world to basically say, the Jews were prominent enough that they essentially presented in their life and worship an argument against the casting of gods. And the basic Greek argument for this that Calvin addressed here and shows the error of is no, the Greeks and Romans and Gentiles say that was only a law for the Jewish people and their nation because God knew they were a superstitious nation. And so that's why they shouldn't have images and idols. But we're not a superstitious nation, so we can have images and idols. And Calvin says, have you read some of your mythology and looked at some of the images you cast up and the manner of your worship? You're the most superstitious people on the planet. If anybody should not be allowed to have idols in their worship, Greeks, Romans, you Gentiles, it should be you. He relates that even when God exhibits his glory by representative signs or in a sense transfigurations or partial revelations, say with Moses, that they're just that. He references Exodus 33. Moses desires to see the unveiled glory of God, and God gives him his backside, essentially saying, look, Moses, no. We're not going to go there. It is too much for man to behold. And even the angels before God, the cherubim of the Ark of the Testimony, it is an image emphasizing what? Concealment, veiled, that you're not going to see behind these wings. And even the angels themselves, Isaiah 6, cloak their own faces so that they won't see the majesty of God. It's even too much for the unfallen angelic host. So man's heart is prone to this idolatry. We need to be guarded against it. The final argument against he gives in this section 4 is that we need to consider the material that this idol is made of as a way to discredit it. What is an idol made of? It's made, he quotes from Horace, of the stuff of the day, out of the mind of man, who is not infinite, but finite and mortal, and out of the stuff that he finds laying around on the earth. He quotes from Horace in one of his satires, "I was once the trunk of a fig tree." This is Horace personifying a tree, pretending to be a tree. "I was once the trunk of a tree, a useless log, when the tradesman, uncertain whether he should make of me a stool, chose rather that I should be a god." Well, good for that fig tree. And this is no more than just reiterating in sort of a pagan natural language Isaiah 44, where he discredits the idols for saying, look, you take a log of wood, you use some of it to warm yourself by the fire, you bake bread with some of it, you roast game with the rest of it, and then with whatever's left, you make an image of it and you bow down to it and you worship it. All of this in the eyes and in the sight of God is sinful, and it is an attempt to discredit and corrupt His true majesty by using the mind of man and the stuff that God's given us to in some way cast an image to represent the immortal, eternal, invisible, spiritual being that God is. All these modes of worship, Calvin would say, devised by man, are de facto detestable. And so we're called as Christians to avoid them because it's what God's word teaches. He doesn't want idols in worship. All right, thanks for listening. I hope that was a benefit.